Welcome to the Her Voice Shines podcast, where we celebrate the power, brilliance, and resilience of women everywhere. I'm your host, Shanasia Washington. Join us as we share inspiring stories and insights from extraordinary women who have found their voice and are making a difference. Together, we'll create a ripple effect, illuminating the path to visibility and empowerment. Let's break barriers, shatter ceilings, and lift each other up. In each episode, we dive deep into the journeys of women who have turned their challenges into triumphs and their dreams into reality. Whether you're looking for motivation, guidance, or a community that understands your journey, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and remember, let your voice shine. Let your voice shine. You have landed at the Her Voice Shines podcast. I am your fabulous host, Shanasia Washington, streaming from Houston, Texas. Now, I don't know exactly when you'll see this, but we are recording this right here in the Christmas season, December the 23rd, and it is like 84 degrees outside. I am not in the Christmas spirit because of that, but it is in my heart. I am so happy to be recording today. I tell you guys all the time, my podcast reaches new highs every time we bring a lady here. And this has been really a transformative recording session for me, starting back a few days ago up until now. And I really think I have a good guest today. She don't know it, but I have looked all around her information, all up in her business, and she'll know that very soon. She's going to come to the stage, tell us her name, where she's streaming from. We get the magic of her story. Without any further waiting time, here's my very beautiful guest for today.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Engle, and I am coming from San Antonio, Texas, about 4 hours north of Houston. I also am experiencing 80-degree weather. So Christmas spirit, not quite there, right? But a day off of work is fantastic. I'm an educator by trade. I'm a special education teacher. And so I am on my winter break, and I advocate for children in the classroom and outside of the classroom. I was a completely nonverbal child, non-speaking child as well. I did not talk until I was 5 years old. At the age of 5, I said 22 words, and I never shut up after that. Going into kindergarten, I was removed from a self-contained classroom, but kept in a special education setting all the way until 5th grade, where I later moved on and became an honors student and graduated, skipped the 11th grade, and went straight into college. I am now 23 with a master's degree, which I completed when I was 22 years old. My focus of study was educational policy and leadership. I really digged into the autism support and the policies we have in place to help disabled students, which sadly is not very many. And I now analyze how children behave and how we need to respond to behavior in order to work with children with disabilities and understand their needs. I also started my business when I was 18 years old during COVID, and it blew up. I was just knitting, and now I knit, I write books, I share my story, special education advocacy. I'm a public speaker. I've spoken all over the world now, and I'm completely honored that I've had that ability and that privilege to do that. And yeah, that's a little bit about me and what I do.
San Antonio, Texas in the building. Let's first start off there. I'm always happy when I have a fellow Texas girl here on the screen. But girl, what? 23? Great stride. So when you tell this story next time or whenever you tell it again, you better perk up, put them shoulders up and say it from the rooftops, because you have done amazing things in such a short time. I am incredibly proud of you. And when I was looking, I was like, oh, okay, like the sky is really the limit. I know that that's kind of a cliche term, but you're walking that. And this historical journey, nonverbal. You were nonverbal into 5, and it really touched me. We have my baby cousin. She has some words, but is she 5? She may be about 5 or 4 now, but she has about maybe 3 or 4 words. She's, essentially, nonverbal. And of course, we're supporting her through that as best we can. But you were underestimated for most of your life in a nonverbal. Tell me about how those early ideas or those early experiences, I should say, were being underestimated, kind of shaped the way that you viewed the world? Because obviously something had to shift, because look at where you are now at 23 years old, living such a beautiful life. Tell me about how those early experiences of being underestimated and nonverbal shaped your view of the world.
Yeah, so my mother was my biggest and fierce advocate. She never let me say I can't. And I was always striving to be a better person. And I always had people in my life who cared, but I also had a mix of people who didn't support me, didn't care. My speech therapist told my mom I would never do anything you could train a monkey to do when I was 3. And when I was diagnosed with autism, they had me build a tower with blocks. They then destroyed the tower and they said, yep, she's autistic. And that's what set my autism diagnosis. So I had a very narrow view of what people saw in me and what people saw I was capable of. Minus when I went home and I was supported by my family and loved. Of course, going into kindergarten, I had a terrible kindergarten teacher who deteriorated me to my special education needs, and it destroyed my confidence. And then when I moved on past that, I realized that I didn't want to be that one day. And I had amazing teachers there on after that, and a mix of ones that just didn't see capability. In college, I was told I was too autistic to teach. And that's when I kind of set forward this path that I needed to be the best me. I had so many people hating upon me throughout my childhood, that I guess a sense of rage and feared in my body. And I was always set out to be better than my haters. And I know that's a funny way of putting it, but I believe that I could accomplish more than what people believed I could accomplish. And I always had to fight for just the bare minimum because of my disabilities. I've always had to fight to meet standards that neurotypical people think are so low to the ground. And if I could do those standards and achieve higher than those standards, I knew that I was set out to be successful and achieve everything that I wanted to in life. So.
Now, listen, Rebecca, I feel like I'm better than my haters too. So I'm looking at the camera telling you right now that I am better than my haters. I'm going to always put my head down. And first off, I'm a learner, right? I love to read. I love to watch documentaries. When I say put my head down, that means engulfing the information that I'm looking to go forward, and I'm going to take the active action while believing in me in doing that. It's so beautiful. Like, I'm very, very happy that you're here. I am, of course, meeting more and more people that are on the spectrum, but most importantly, people that have kids on the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So for you to be here and really be a living, breathing example of someone that advocates for herself, you don't know what that does to me in this platform, because this is specifically why this platform exists. Now, I want to ask you specifically about self-trust, because when you go through these even self-trust, even with or without disability, everybody is disabled in some particular way. There is nobody on the earth that's able to do everything. So I tell people all the time, Sinead, you don't go by titles. I go by your heart, your soul, and what you can do, because there's many things that I can't do that I'm technically disabled about. So the titles, of course, have to go out of the window when I'm speaking to people and really building genuine connection. So tell me about, because I don't want to say, maybe had to build that self-trust. I know you always had your mom that was your advocate. Tell me about building self-trust and what someone can do to build it or either rebuild it if they're walking a similar path as you. Because it's very hard sometimes if they don't have an advocate like your mom that's saying, you can do it, you are better than this. Sometimes it's hard to find that inner peace and that self-trust to move forward. What would you say to that person?
Yeah. So building trust isn't about being liked. It's about being predictably safe. Trust is built when people know what version of you they're getting on good days, hard days, regulated days, dysregulated days, messy days, the same values, the same boundaries. the same follow through, no jump scares. I build trust by saying what I mean and doing what I said I would do. Wild concept, I know. No secret rules, no moving goalposts, no gotcha moments, dressed up as professionalism. I believe trust grows when people don't have to perform for me, when they don't have to earn basic dignity, when they're not waiting for the tone shift, the punishment, the public call out. I don't build trust through control. I build it through clarity, especially as an educator. I explain the why. I always narrate my thinking. I slow things down. I don't assume malicious intent when confusion explains it's just fine. I leave room for repair instead of keeping score in all of my relationships. I believe trust is built when someone messes up and learns they're still welcome or still respected or still human. One of the things I see commonly in our country and across the globe is the confusion of fear with respect. If someone only behaves when they are scared, that's not trust. That's compliance on borrowed time. I build trust by being regulated first, because dysregulated adults create dysregulated systems every single time. I don't ask people to do what I refuse to model. I don't demand vulnerability and then punish honesty. I don't believe in preaching grace and then rationing it. I believe trust is quiet. It looks like people telling the truth even when it's inconvenient. Or in my world, when my students come back after a hard moment, or colleagues ask me questions, or people in my field ask me questions instead of hiding their mistakes. And here's the part people don't like about what I'm going to say. Trust takes time, consistency. There's no shortcut to it. There's no checklist to it. There's no poster you can laminate and call it culture. You don't build trust by branding it or by being nice. You build it by living in a way that makes people exhale. That's it. And people sometimes only want to inhale, and no one wants to let go of their control in order to build trust. And that's why we have trust issues.
I really love this segment, particularly the last part, because I live my life in a way that I hope to build a safe place where people can excel. I hope that in interacting with me and me living the way that I do, that it really embodies the level of trust. And the big part of it is consistency. I talked about it very closely yesterday with someone. I said, especially in this stage of life, if Sinead says she's going to do something, unless it's some kind of catastrophic, life-threatening event, I'm going to be there. And that's what many people, they're starting, especially when they're building things like brands, and, we'll see them and then they'll go ghost for 2 months. I'm like, what happened to you? Now, when you've disappeared for 2 months, you have to come back and rebuild that gap. So showing up consistently is so important. And the other part that you said, I really love, Rebecca, is extending grace. And while you're extending grace to other people, you better turn that mirror around and extend some grace to yourself. Because the thing about it is that you're going to keep on living. You're going to keep on making mistakes. Things are going to change. Climates get a little bit different. Take the time to also extend grace to yourself, because you're worthy of that too. And the more you can extend grace to yourself, the easier it is to extend it to others. And this I know. This I know for real life. I like something that you said in your form, and thank you for filling out my form. I know it's arduous, but I have to make sure I make this, good, right? You said this about advocacy, and I love this. You said your biggest turning point was realizing that advocacy isn't about being palatable. Believe it or not, that's kind of hard. Like when people feel like they're not palatable, they're not like accepted, like that's why it's kind of hard to actually be a true advocate. And as a person who stands firm in advocacy, trust me, everybody don't like the sniff and smell of Sinead all the time. No matter how pleasant, how nice. And that's just what it is. Tell me, what does it cost to mask while trying to be an advocate? Because advocacy is really a lot about truth. What does masking cost?
Yeah, well, masking for me is like wearing a custom costume every day. That's almost me, but not quite. At first it's functional. It lets me navigate spaces that weren't built for me. Um, it lets people think they understand me. It buys my social peace and it drains me in ways that aren't obvious until later. And when I talk about masking, I get emotional because it's something I've done for 23 years, and especially throughout my school years. And, I wasn't comfortable going around and screaming that I was autistic until college. There's an emotional exhaustion behind it. It's keeping up the performance, constantly scanning context, calibrating your tone, hiding parts of yourself that feel too much or too weird. It's like defending a castle and never getting to rest inside of the castle. There's an identity erosion that comes with masking. You start mistaking the mask for the real you because everyone responds to the mask. And your brilliance gets filtered through other people's comfort. And until you're not quite sure what parts you actually own anymore. There's advocacy distortion that comes with it, masking my tone, going down with my fire, making your message softer because you're scared people won't take it the right way. There's less honesty. Folks applaud the delivery without understanding the depth of what you're trying to name. You become the friendly activist, not the necessary one when you're palatable. And that's exactly why I said what I said. There's a misconnection. People don't trust authenticity less. They trust it more, but when you mask, you trade deep connection for surface level comfort. Students, families, colleagues might like me, but they don't truly know me. And trust builds in the stuff we show that's real, not the curated version. And then there's delaying healing. You hide your struggles and adapt, and each adaptation feels like competence in the moment. But decades later, you realize you've been coping and not healing. There's a misalignment of impact. Masking means shaping my advocacy to fit others' expectations instead of expanding my capacity to meet people's real needs. Having to adapt to the system instead of helping the system adapt to people. And so the real cost, it's not tiredness, it's not the emotional hangover, it's living half lit. You advocate, I advocate, and I can't do it behind smoked glass. People see the outline of my advocacy but miss the heartbeat. Fatigue becomes the baseline of it. You wonder why you're always kind of half on but feel like you've never fully seen. The hard truth, masking helps me survive, but the authenticity and the loudness in my voice helps me change things. And when you drop that mask, you risk discomfort, rejection, misunderstanding, but you always open space for the real allyship, real trust, real systematic shift. Real advocacy, especially neurodivergent advocacy, doesn't come from performing competence. It comes from living my truth. And one of the things that was always said to me when I started branding myself as an autistic person rather than disabled or neurodivergent or learning delayed or whatever, right? Like undertoning my name and label to I had a speech delay and started saying, no, I'm autistic. Everyone in my life, including my family, that's going to hurt you from getting a job. That's going to hurt you from succeeding. That's going to hurt you from being on stage. It's going to hurt you from being liked. It's going to make people avoid you. And ever since I've said I was autistic loudly and changed my branding from just I'm a neurodivergent person to I'm an autistic person, I've gotten on 212 more stages and I've gotten on 784 more podcasts. And that's only within the last 8 months.
Let me tell you something, Rebecca. I haven't pulled this out in a very long time. When you were speaking, I almost knocked over my thing to pull this out. I'm serious. This was my mask.
Mm-hmm.
This was my mask. I'm a 39-year-old woman.
Mm-hmm.
This was my mask.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a actual physical thing that I made of the mask that I wore. And this is real life.
Mm-hmm.
This is real life.
Mm-hmm.
Shrinking down, fear, no voice, paralyzed, scared in my own body.
Mm-hmm.
Real life mask.
Mm-hmm.
Why this platform exists is because a lot of people, I don't care about no title of autistic or neurodivergent. Most of these women out here wearing masks anyway. That's when I tell people to come on this platform and you do it how you do it. Because they wearing them. I was a woman who looked very successful on the outside. Had the job, the house, the kid, but dead on the inside wearing a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Dead. Coming home crying every night because I was wearing this mask. Grew up different from everybody in my family. The only tall person, I'm 6 feet tall. Very nerdy growing up. Only liked to read, didn't like the parties, didn't like any of this, didn't like any of that. Very socially awkward. When I came on this side of this, I said, there's no turning back to that. It's no turning back to wearing that mask.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand that I spent most of my early years in a mask? So for you to sit here at 23 years old, don't tear up when you talk about the mask. I know it may hurt sometimes, but you wake up every day. Wake up every day to walk away from the mask.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't walk away from the mask until maybe, and I was still struggling in 2020. So at that time, I was what, 33?
Mm-hmm.
I was struggling still at that time. It took me that time when people said I was crazy for walking away from my job to find me.
Mm-hmm.
They said I was crazy, Rebecca. They told me I was crazy, and this is real life proof. Yeah. If somebody would have told me in 2025 that I would be sitting on a podcast talking to Rebecca, I would have told them, you got the right person? Who are you talking about? That's not me, Shanadra. Like, whose life is that? But because I removed that, that's the version that you're getting today. You're getting an unmasked version of me.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't come overnight, and it for sure didn't come from listening to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And they say I don't have a quote unquote disability on paper, whatever, these professionals say. But I was very much masked in this world. Very much masked trying to find the place to settle. And guess what, Rebecca? It's still easy now. I go into many rooms and like, oh Lord, this is not it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these people just don't get it. These are not my people.
Mm-hmm.
Still today, on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I want to tell you something. You are doing incredible, incredible things. The first thing that you did when you said I'm an autistic business or brand owner, that was a big old notch in removing the mask. A big old heavy lift that I can't even tell you how proud I am for you doing that. And I'm speaking to you from heart to heart, from a woman to woman. You did something that 90% of women will never do. They'll never do it. I don't care if they got $1 million in their bank. I done met them. I don't care if they have $1 million in their bank account. They done been on TV. They done been on stages. They run hospitals. They judges. We done talked to them all. I done talked to a lot of mass millionaires. A lot of mass people of power. Yeah. So in order for you to really, really, truly be free and walk this thing to the highest capacity that you can do and be, is to keep that mask off. Mm-hmm. I'm just telling you. See, I didn't know I was gonna have to run over here and knock over this thing to get my mask, Rebecca. You didn't tell me we was going here. We didn't say we was gonna have that kind of party. But I felt inclined to tell you that. I felt inclined to tell you that most of this mission, most of me showing up once a day is a direct byproduct coming off.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just saying that I want to make sure that I go here because I love that you are in the classroom. You don't know how much I do.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how much I love that you are, because you understand. You've been there. You have lived experience. And I tell people that lived experience in most cases trumps what you can read in a book or get anywhere else.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people to bet on you. I'm not saying that education is not important. I would never be that crazy and say something like that. But that lived experience is a game changer. So the fact that you are in the classroom after having lived experience, you probably wake up every day and you realize how transformative it is. But I'm here to remind you about how transformative that is. Tell me what that looks like in theory and practice for you, because are there moments that you have triggers back to your space, and are there kind of moments where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just so happy that I get to be here and recreate or create a space that I know is going to create a ripple effect? It has to kind of be that way because you've lived the experience. Because me personally, that's why I got so ignited when I talked about the mask. Why? Because that's my lived experience that I didn't get from no degree or no title. That's my lived experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me about that maybe seesaw of, okay, I'm here. Maybe I got some triggering moments that may not be so good because dang, I remember that happened to me and it didn't feel good. But there also has to be this kind of revelation part.
Yeah.
That I'm getting to really help and maybe create a ripple effect.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't hide my triggers in the classroom. I work with them. I know loud, abrupt power plays spike me. So I build a room that runs on predictability instead of threats. There's clear routines, clear language, clear exits, no surprise shame, no public call outs. My nervous system sets the rules and the kids benefit from it. I don't deny their trauma. I translate it into boundaries because I lived what it feels like to be trapped, unheard, and controlled. I don't trap, um, or ignore or control kids. I don't confuse authority with domination. I'm firm. I tell my kids my rules and my boundaries, but never scary. Students learn fast. This is a room where mistakes don't get weaponized. Um, I don't romanticize what I went through or my pain. My past becomes data. When a kid shuts down, I don't rush to fix them. I slow down the room. When a kid melts, I don't escalate. I widen the container. My trauma didn't make me fragile, it made me precise. And then there's the happiness, the joy, the regulated glow. My joy isn't performative, it's grounded. I laugh easily. I celebrate the small wins like they matter because they do. They do matter. I let kids see delight without it being conditional. And the room learn something radical. And learning doesn't have to hurt to be real. My happiness becomes permission. It's the permission to stim in front of my kids, to take breaks, to try again, to be weird, smart, and unfinished. Kids don't just behave differently, they breathe differently in a room that breathes. This is where the ripple effect starts for me. Students carry this calm into other classrooms. They say things like, "Can I take a minute?" instead of exploding. They advocate instead of disappearing. They trust adults a little more, not because all adults earned it, but because one did. My colleagues notice they see fewer power struggles. They borrow my language. They ask why the room feels different or why kids change. The conversation shifts from control to climate. And the system, it gets quietly challenged because my classroom proves something dangerous and true. Regulation works better than force with children. Co-regulation works better with force, and it always will. So, what does being in my classroom feel like? It looks like a space where triggers don't run the room, but they inform it. Where trauma doesn't leak, but it guides. Where happiness isn't loud, but it's contagious. I don't create safety by pretending that I'm unscared. or unscarred. Um, I should have said not scared and unscarred, but it's okay. I create it by being regulated, honest and steady with all of my kids. That's the ripple. Not a splash. It's not a trend. It's not a reward system. It's a slow widening circle that changes people long after they leave my classroom.
Mm-hmm. I believe it. I believe that I truly believe that that's really happening. And because, like I say, we have touch points with autism in our family. That's why I tell you that it means so much to me. That's why I tell you that I know the need. I know how difficult, you know, we've had it a little bit with my baby cousin, and she's making some changes, but there's definitely some challenges there. So thanks
Yeah.
for that. And let me ask you this: we talked about a little bit in your form. You said success is impact. Tell me right now, does Rebecca feel successful? And if there is a measure of success, on 1 to 10, how successful does Rebecca feel? And tell me what Rebecca is doing to make sure that that major kind of idea of what success is stays in the forefront, and she does not teeter and put on masks and all those kind of things to ensure that that success outlook stays in focus.
Yeah. So I say success equals impact, not applause, not titles, not how busy you look. And your question was, how am I doing? And I would say that um, I look at success as how my nervous system feels when I look at my work. So I'm living around a 7.5 to 8, not because everything is easy, but because it's aligned. A 10 would feel euphoric but unstable. A 5 would feel productive but hollow, and an 8 feels like tired, yes, but clear, stretched but not lost. I don't chase impact anymore. I'm inside it. Kids regulate faster, adults rethink their language, systems feel my presence even when they resist it. That's impact math. And I took a job in August, was fired in October because of the impact and the system fear. And let's just say that there was a protest around my firing. And now I have a new job. And importantly, I don't feel fake, I feel earned. And what I'm doing to stay at the forefront, I'm not staying relevant by being louder. I hate the post all the time, every 10 seconds. No, because would those posts be impactful? I'm staying relevant by being earlier. I name things before they're trendy. I talk regulation before districts catch up. I challenge token economies while others are still decorating them. I say belonging isn't a poster and people feel exposed in a good way. I stay at the forefront because I do a few non-negotiables. I live the work, not just teach it. My classroom is proof of concept, not a theory deck. People can argue with opinions. They struggle to argue with the result of them. I translate complexity. I take neuroscience, trauma theory, policy, lived experience, and I make it usable. It's rare. That's leadership. I think that I get asked all the time, well, Becca, your business is growing, so quit the classroom and go focus on your business. And I say no, because my business and my teaching are two things. They have to go together. I don't believe my business would be as strong as it is without my classroom. Because I'm constantly testing out everything I create for my business in my classroom. I protect regulation. I don't martyr myself for visibility anymore. I rest. I say no faster. I leave rooms that want compliance instead of collaboration. And that keeps my voice sharp. I build in public. I don't wait until it's perfect. I show the process that makes people trust me. And trust moves systems faster than any credentials. I refuse to shrink for palatability to look pretty to people. I'm warm. I'm not watered down. Kind but not quiet. That combination scares out of people. And it's unsettling to outdated systems. And I'm not a magnetic person. but it is magnetic to people ready for change. And the quiet truth, success doesn't feel like fireworks anymore. It kind of feels like gravity. People orbit my thinking. My language shows up in other mouths. My framework is getting borrowed by people across the country, sometimes without credit. And it's annoying, but it's proof. Impact feels like walking into a room and knowing I don't have to prove anything. The work already spoke. I started showing up to vendor events local in town where people walk up to me and they go, "Oh yeah, you're Rebecca Engle. I see you here." And I have no clue who they are. And my work spoke for me there. I haven't met these people. My voice didn't speak for me. And that's where I am. My work is where I am. I'm not done. I'm not resting forever. I'm unmistakably in the forefront because I'm building something that lasts and not something that trends, whether I'm present or not.
I love it. I think my favorite part of that segment was that that your business and your classroom have to exist cohesively. And that's actually a strong stand because many people, they will follow, well, since the business is doing okay, I can just leave this around. And I think the other part of it is that piece of getting to actually pour back and that impact. And, that helps you to feel grounded. I mean, the business is what it is, but there is, a certain thing, like even with, me doing this, I'm like, well, I probably don't have to do that anymore, but that part is so fulfilling. And that part is real on the ground transformation I give people that can't get anywhere else. I have to show up and do that.
Yeah.
You understand? Because I don't really have to do that, but it wouldn't fuel me personally if I did not.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I want to make sure we have a clean segment, Rebecca, so that we have all your connection points. Definitely tell us where to find your business, whether it's social media or emails, website, whatever you want to give us for connection points. Please give us that now so that we can include these for all of our listeners.
Yeah. So I'm on Facebook. It's Stitches and Stanzas, like poetry stanzas, and stitches as in like sewing and knitting. And then I am on Instagram at Stitches Stanzas without the and. And then I'm on Facebook also as Becca Engle. So BECCAENGLE. I'm also on Instagram as Becca.09.20. If you want to find me on those platforms. I'm also on LinkedIn at Rebecca Engle M.ed.
Yes, ma'am. I love it. And I definitely cannot leave this place without talking about Stitches and Stanzas. First off, the name is fire. I love the name when I saw it. Tell me about when you created Stitches and Stanzas. What do you think was missing kind of in that disability creator type space? What was actually missing and what finally clicked? I'm going to go ahead and do Stitches and Stanzas. I'm going to carve this thing. I'm going to walk it out. What was the shift and what was missing so that you're working to kind of meet a void? Tell us about that experience.
Yeah. So when I was 18, 17, I created Rebby Knits. And then I started doing more crafting and it became Rebby Crafts. And it was a complete accident. I knitted octopi for kids that lost their graduations due to COVID because I was a high school senior and I was losing mine too. Blew up, made the news. Whoa, this high school senior did this. Oh my goodness, right? And people were like, oh my gosh, I want to support her. And then, well, when you make profit, you have to file what? And so I was like, well, I guess this is it now. And I took some business classes in my freshman year of high school. So I had some background on marketing and things like that. But after that, I was like, no, I want to be a teacher. And so I was going through school and that's how I was paying for school. I was knitting. And then when I got to my junior year of college, I was a junior senior and I was super stressed out because I was in way too many classes, way over the credit hour limit. 12 is full time. I was in 26. And so I was in double a full-time college student while also running a business. And I was doing a lot of political work, working for Congress, doing various other things, and working for state house campaigns and just trying to manage all this advocacy stuff. And one of the things working in politics taught me was that there needed to be changes in the teacher education system. And it encouraged me to become an advocate. And so I started working on school board campaigns as well. And while I was doing all that, I was meeting people and people were like, I want to hire you for communications. I want to hire you for communications. So I was doing a lot of communication director roles for various local campaigns. And as that grew, I was like, wow, okay, so communications and knitting is my thing. And then I entered a contest to win money for school, where it was a poetry contest. And I won $200. And my work got published. I was put on a billboard off of two major state highways, and including 35, and just continued writing for, ever. And then a college professor suggested I made an actual book. And I was working with refugees, and she had done a similar book for refugees, but she wanted me to do that for the disabled community. So I was like, yeah, why not? So I learned how to publish a book. And I was still Rebby Crafts. And I was like, Rebby Crafts doesn't fit who I am anymore. I'm an education advocate. I'm a, education policy advocate. I'm a knitter. I'm all this. And so when I changed my name to Stitches and Stanzas, Stitches derives from the knitting, but it also derives from stitching my life together, stitching these pieces of me, stitching my omnipresence together into this one person. And Stanzas derives from telling stories of my life. And they're short and sweet. And I even talk very poetically, I've been told. And so I'm Stitches and Stanzas.
I've been back here like beaming with pride. Like, I'm so sneaking proud of you. I don't know if you hear it enough. I know you've been a lot of different places, but literally I am proud of you. Like, number one, the evolution. And then, like Rebecca says so casually, oh, I was like on the billboard, and oh yeah, I was a refugee, and oh yeah, I was it just rolls off. It just rolls off like this long list of things that you've done in really a short amount of time. Like, I don't know that because you're like really in it, that you actually stop and really freaking pat yourself on the back. And I mean that. I mean that from the purest place in my heart, because the things that you have been able to accomplish, and you may think that, you may not be in a good doing the job with the math. I mean, you are doing a phenomenal job. I'm sitting here, number one, since she said that when she was in college, y'all missed the part when she said that she was in college, she was doing 26 hours and still running a knitting business as the being a policy advocate. That's not no small stuff, Rebecca. I don't know. I don't know how you look at that or play that in your head, or I don't know. But I'm telling you from somebody who's experiencing your story for the first time. This is an experience for me, because my skill set is being able to pull these things out and give it back to you. And I want to make sure that I never leave this place without giving you roses today. Roses for your strides. Roses for showing up. Roses for being flexible when the average person, they don't even know how to pivot. You've shown me a resilient walk with pivoting, for figuring it out in the midst of a pandemic. This girl was like on the news saying, look what I've done to save graduation, do these different things that make it commemorative. I think you have a brilliant mind. I think you have a brilliant heart. I really do.
Thank you.
I really, really do. I look through the information, and when I go through the things, I'm always asking myself, I was like, do these women know who they are?
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a real thing when I get to the end. I say, do they really know who they are? Mm-hmm. Because sometimes we get to doing the things and checking the things off and all these things. And like for you, it's like a momentum thing. Like if I talk to you 5 years from now, who knows what Rebecca's going to be doing? Okay. Who knows what she's going to be doing? And I think because you're just in the thing, and sometimes you have to step out of oneself story. I used to have a teacher that said it all the time, step out of oneself story. But step out of the story and look inside and see. And I personally, look, I'm telling you this, Rebecca, because I tell people when I'm teaching, I'm also helping myself. This year was very hard for Sinead Washington. 2025 was probably one of my hardest years, other than 2020 to date. And all these things were like kind of happening. I was just going through the things. So of course, it's the end of the year. And typically at the end of the year, we do like a reflective type reel or video or something like that. And Rebecca, when I got to the end of last week, I was sitting on my couch in tears because I was going through all things, but so many things I didn't realize. So many places I had been, I didn't even. Yeah, we had the pictures. Yes, it was the stage. I didn't even realize. And I told myself in my prayer was say, Lord, I want to go out and do these things, but never not make me present in the sense that I forget a moment. Like, I'm not saying I'm going to remember every little ticket I think. That's not what I'm saying. But to get to a place to the end, I committed to myself that will not happen going forward. So I want you to stop really as you do these things. I don't know if it's journaling or stop and give Rebecca Engle a hug. And tell a girl, seriously, and tell a girl this stuff is not, done in vain, because there are, matter of fact, I know another young lady. She needs to see your story. And I can't wait till I go and play this back, because I will be reaching out to her to make sure that she watches this particular episode, because she's had her own struggles in this journey. And the thing about her, she has not always had the best support system and the best resources, and definitely not in the best part of town to have educational systems that can really support her journey. And to see you do this, to me, means so much. So by this, when I started my college career way back when, I was a biology major and chemistry minor. I thought that I was going to work somewhere in neuroscience. So I'm a neuroscience nerd, child. I'm just a nerd. I'm just dressed up. And I still read tons of tons of neuroscience documentaries and stuff. So I guess it's kind of a play on my heart. And different things. I like to read lots of Alzheimer's research as well. I still do today. And interesting what's coming out about that. Like, there's so many ties, like sugar and all these things are having such a big play. Alzheimer's, it's just a bunch of different things. But I haven't had a lot of time this last quarter. But it plays on my heart. That's why I knew that this episode would mean so much to me, Rebecca. So I hope that you hear my voice when I say this, to stop yourself in time. And love on Rebecca for just freaking for showing up and doing it. And doing it in a way that is reaching people, that is high performing, is pure. And please, Rebecca, I told you, I've talked to a lot of women of all ages and shapes and sizes and colors. And the thing that you're doing, removing the mask, showing up, calling the thing a thing, Rebecca, it's not coming. It's not coming. You can go back and look. I don't have to make it. I got tons of receipts. It's not coming. So I don't ever want you to feel as though your journey is like, you're even though the autism thing may be like what you think is the differentiator. It's the things that you've overcome because of it. That's the real differentiator. Okay.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. Now, look, I told Rebecca it's going to be 30 minutes. I don't know what's been going on with me this week, y'all. I know we typically try to keep y'all 30, 35 minutes, but we have 48 minutes. It didn't even feel like it. It never does, because when we come here, we try and have a really good time and really make these guests have interviews that are very tailored to them, and that we really get a glimpse into who they really are and not just the titles. So I want to make sure I cue over to Rebecca for final thoughts. I'm going to give her an opportunity to close out, to give her final thoughts, and really something that captures the essence of Rebecca. And I'll be back to close the show. So over to Rebecca for final thoughts, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, so I close out every podcast that I'm on that I get the opportunity to with don't let people peel your stickers off. I see all human beings as a Rubik's Cube. And I believe that, we're all solved in time. And there's 1,000 solutions to us and 1,000 ways to turn us. And when you allow people to peel your stickers off and solve you faster, you don't get to real you, and you have scrapes and scars all over you, right? And so take your time, figure yourself out, be solvable, and don't let people peel your stickers off.
I love it. And you guys already know I've expressed how much I love this episode. And I want to tell you thank you again, Rebecca. I don't take it lightly. I do truly, truly love this place and space that I'm in. And to everyone that's out there in the Her Voice Shines podcast, I'll tell you that miraculous things happen when you let your voice shine. Many of you are doing things that you really think are mundane and that nobody really cares about. But I guarantee you that if you can lift your voice and share your experience, you never know who you're going to touch. I'm a living witness because guess what? This podcast also is a place of reciprocity because I never leave this place without learning something. I never leave this place without growing. So if you have spent the time and stayed to the end of this episode, I'm going to tell you like the church folks say, I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. And I'll be back with another amazing woman in no time on the Her Voice Shines podcast.